I quiet my soul before you. In the valleys of life, where shadows stretch long and hope seems faint, I remember that you are near. Your word whispers through the stillness. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Psalm 23:4. Lord, you know the silent battles carried in the hearts of your children, the hidden fears, the silent disappointments, the unspoken prayers that ache to be heard. You walk beside us, not only on the mountaintops, but in the low and quiet places where faith is tested. When the road bends and uncertainty fills the air, you do not abandon, you sustain. In these moments, teach me to trust the shepherd's voice. When my heart trembles, remind me that your staff guides, and your presence steadies every step. You are not distant from suffering. You enter it with compassion that heals and restores. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. Father, when I cannot see the way ahead, remind me that valleys are not destinations but passages. Through them, you shape endurance, deepen faith, and reveal your goodness that never fails. Let my soul rest in the assurance that your love is not seasonal. It stays through storm and stillness alike. If I rise early in the morning, you are there. If I watch the dawn unfold over quiet hills, you are there too. You know where each of us wakes today, different cities, nations, and time zones, yet you gather our prayers as one. Where do you find yourself this morning? What time of day are you listening to this prayer? Tell me below. Let's fill this space with a map of hearts that trust the same shepherd across the world. Lord, when the morning light fades and the hours stretch heavy with worry, teach my heart to rest in you. So often, the valleys of life appear endless, filled with shadows of what was lost, echoes of prayers still unanswered, and the quiet ache of waiting. Yet your word reminds me, those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Isaiah 40:31. You are not a distant observer of my pain. You are my refuge in it, in every moment that feels too heavy to bear. You whisper strength into my weakness. You turn tears into seeds of trust, transforming despair into endurance. Father, help me not to rush through this valley, but to recognize the sacredness in it. The way you teach humility, compassion, and dependence on grace when all else fades. Sometimes, I mistake silence for absence. But even in the quiet, you are working unseen, weaving redemption through every hardship. Your mercy meets me not in perfection, but in surrender. And though the valley feels like a place of loss, it becomes a place of encounter, where I learn that peace is not the absence of struggle, but the awareness of your presence within it. You promised, Lord, that goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. That means, even here, amid doubt, disappointment, or confusion, your goodness has not turned away. It follows quietly, patiently, like a gentle shadow of love that refuses to leave. Remind me, Father, that no step I take is wasted when my eyes are fixed on you. The valley may stretch long, but the shepherd leads to green pastures beyond. I will not fear the path ahead, for you go before me. Father, in the midst of uncertainty, I pause to feel your nearness. The road ahead may twist through unseen turns, but even here, your light reaches the hidden corners of my heart. The valley no longer feels like punishment. It becomes a passage where your hand reshapes my soul. You remind me through your word that the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way. Psalm 37:23. Each moment of confusion is not a detour but a divine direction. You never waste pain. You mold it into purpose. When I look back, I see that you have been the calm behind every storm. You were present when doors closed and when silence filled the night. What I once called loss, you were using to make space for something sacred. We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. Romans 8:28. This truth carries me when strength fades. I begin to realize that faith is not found in understanding every reason, but in trusting the one who sees beyond every horizon. Lord, in moments of exhaustion, teach me to rest without guilt. Let me learn that rest is not weakness, it is worship. When the mind grows weary and the soul thirsts for peace, you lead me beside still waters. Psalm 23:2. There my heart drinks deeply of your presence. The valley may remain, but it no longer defines me. Your love does. Sometimes I resist the journey, wanting control over what I cannot command. Yet you, gentle shepherd, remind me that surrender is safer than striving. You lift the weight I was never meant to carry and replace it with quiet courage. Every tear becomes a prayer, every sigh an offering of trust. I walk forward not because I see the full path, but because I know who walks beside me. You are constant when everything else shifts, faithful when others fade away, compassionate even when I falter. Your grace rewrites fear into hope, pain into peace, and confusion into clarity. Father, thank you for being my anchor in the valley, my refuge in the storm, and my guide through shadows. You never leave a soul unguarded. Lord, sometimes the valley seems endless, and the weight of life feels heavier than words can carry. Yet in that stillness where everything else fades, your presence speaks louder than despair. You teach that even shadows need light to exist, and where there is shadow, there must also be grace nearby. The deeper the sorrow, the closer you seem to draw. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Psalm 23:3. You never lead to abandon. You guide to transform. When discouragement tries to drown my hope, I remember that the same hands that carved the mountains also cradle my fragile faith. You see beyond my confusion, shaping endurance in hidden ways. What feels like delay is often preparation. What appears as loss may be the ground for new beginnings. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Psalm 37:7. Those words are not just counsel. They are medicine to the restless heart. You understand the language of tears, Father. They are not signs of defeat, but evidence that I still care, that I still believe you are listening. In those moments when I can't form prayers, you interpret every sigh as worship. The Spirit himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. Romans 8:26. How comforting it is to know that heaven hears what lips cannot express. Through valleys of disappointment, you reveal the quiet strength of surrender. The path may not always be bright, but it is holy because you are in it. Each step taken in faith becomes an act of worship. You transform ordinary endurance into sacred perseverance. Father, help me not to despise slow seasons. Let me embrace the rhythm of divine timing, trusting that delay is not denial but divine pacing. You are writing stories that take time, healing wounds that patience alone can mend. For everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. I choose to rest in your sovereignty. Though I do not know how long the valley will last, I know that your promises endure beyond every passing storm. You are constant, you are kind, and you are never late. There are mornings when my heart awakens heavy, when memories return like fog and gratitude feels distant. Yet even in those hours, you gently whisper that love is not earned. It is given freely, and it remains. You are not repelled by frailty. You are drawn to it. When my faith trembles, you remain unshaken. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Psalm 27:1. The truth of your presence pierces the fog and steadies my spirit again. You remind me that strength does not mean the absence of vulnerability, but the courage to stand in it. Every scar becomes a testimony, every doubt a doorway to deeper trust. You walk with those who stumble, not just those who stand tall. There is no shame in weakness when grace is the foundation. When I feel unseen, you remind me that even the smallest faith can move mountains. Matthew 17:20. Lord, how many times have I walked through shadows thinking I was alone, only to look back and realize your footprints were beside mine all along. You were there when I hesitated to forgive, when I feared to try again. You never turned away. You waited with mercy that did not demand perfection, only surrender. You heal not only the wounds caused by others, but also those I inflict on myself through worry, pride, and doubt. Your forgiveness rebuilds what shame tears down. It is a love that does not just cover, it restores. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. Through your compassion, I learn that nothing is wasted, not even pain, because you recycle sorrow into wisdom. Teach me to breathe deeply again, to find peace not in outcomes, but in your unchanging nature. Whether I stand on a mountain or sit in the valley, I belong to you. My worth is not measured by how far I've gone, but by how closely I walk with you. So today, I open my heart to new beginnings. Let gratitude rise even when feelings resist it. Let trust grow where fear once ruled, and may this valley become not a memory of loss, but a monument of faith. What lesson has a painful season taught you about God's faithfulness? Share your experience below. Someone may need that reminder today. Lord, when night lingers too long and silence feels like an unanswered prayer, remind me that quietness is not neglect. It's the sacred pause where you prepare hearts for deeper revelation. The valleys of life, though heavy, are not barren. They are fertile with unseen grace. Beneath the soil of sorrow, new roots of faith are taking hold. You teach me that while the world chases quick results, heaven cultivates endurance. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. In stillness I stop striving to control what was never mine and let you defend what my strength cannot. Sometimes I wonder why peace seems distant. Yet you remind me that peace is not found in changing circumstances, but in surrendering to your presence. You are not the absence of storms, but the calm within them. When fears whisper that I am forgotten, you remind me that my name is written on the palms of your hands. Isaiah 49:16. You do not forget what you have created with purpose and love. Father, your word is my anchor. It steadies me when emotions fluctuate, when hope flickers faintly. Through Scripture, you reveal the timeless rhythm of your promises. The Lord is good, a refuge in times of trouble. He cares for those who trust in him. Nahum 1:7. I cling to that truth when nothing else makes sense, because your goodness does not depend on my feelings. It flows from your unchanging heart. Even in dark seasons, you scatter light in unexpected places. A kind word, a moment of laughter, the comfort of prayer. Each small mercy becomes a lantern guiding me forward. You teach that miracles often arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary days. Every sunrise testifies that endings are never final when you write the story. Lord, train my heart to recognize you not only in blessings but in burdens. Let gratitude grow where anxiety once lived. I may not understand the why, but I can rest in the who. You are the shepherd who never leaves the flock. You walk ahead to prepare the way, behind to protect, and beside to comfort. So I will not rush this valley. I will walk through it with eyes open for traces of grace. Because I know, once I reach the other side, I will see that you were never silent, only speaking in a language my heart had yet to learn. As I walk deeper through this valley, I realize that every season has its sacred assignment. What once felt like loss now begins to reveal purpose. You never waste a wound, for each trial becomes a teacher, and each moment of sorrow contains a hidden seed of transformation. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. 2 Corinthians 4:17. Through this truth, you invite me to look beyond pain and see eternity shaping within the present. You remind me that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to keep trusting when fear whispers louder. When the night stretches long, you become the flame that refuses to die. In darkness, your voice does not shout, it comforts. You guide my trembling heart to still waters, not always to remove the valley, but to remind me that I am never walking through it alone. Lord, you see the hidden battles I don't voice to anyone, the internal storms that rage silently behind calm smiles. Yet even those are not invisible to you. Before they call, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear. Isaiah 65:24. You are never indifferent to the cries of your children. Every sigh becomes an invitation for your peace to enter. When I think of the past, I see how you turned confusion into clarity and despair into direction. Each closed door redirected my steps toward something far greater than I could plan. You do not always give explanations, but you always give meaning. You remind me that faith is trusting your character when I can't trace your plan. Father, in moments when my faith feels faint, help me remember that mustard seeds still move mountains. Teach me to anchor hope not in what I can see, but in who you are. Let every valley deepen my dependence, polish my perspective, and enlarge my gratitude. The more I surrender, the freer I become, for your grace carries what my hands cannot. You are my portion when strength fades, my song when joy is silent. Each dawn becomes a testimony of mercy renewed, proof that no night lasts forever. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 35. The valley may remain for a time, but its power diminishes when I remember that joy is already on the horizon. Lord, you know the weariness that comes from walking through long seasons of uncertainty. Sometimes the weight feels too heavy to carry, and the soul whispers for rest. Yet even then, your grace reaches deeper than exhaustion. You breathe strength where hope has thinned, and peace where fear once built its walls. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Isaiah 40:29. In the quiet, you rebuild what the struggle tried to break. There are moments when I question how much longer the journey will last, but you remind me that time does not measure your faithfulness. What seems delayed is often divine protection. What feels like stillness may be the very ground where roots grow. Be strong and take heart, all you who hope in the Lord. Psalm 31:24. Faith does not always walk in straight lines. Sometimes it learns to stand firm in sacred pauses. Father, help me not to view the valley as punishment, but as preparation. It is here that I learn to trust without proof, to praise without evidence, to rest without answers. In these unseen places, you carve out character. You teach the heart to listen before it speaks, to surrender before it seeks. You turn the valley into a sanctuary, a place where your whispers become louder than the world's noise. When doubt tries to return, I remember that you never called me to understand everything, only to believe that you are good. That truth alone carries light into the darkest turns. The Lord is faithful to all his promises and loving toward all he has made. Psalm 145:13. Your reliability becomes my confidence. Though emotions may shift, your covenant remains unbroken. Lord, I thank you for being the same yesterday, today, and forever. No circumstance can cancel your compassion. No distance can dim your love. No valley is too deep for your presence to reach. When fear rises, your promises rise higher. When tears fall, they water the soil of new beginnings. So even in this place I will praise you. I will lift my heart toward hope, knowing that what feels like the end is often the threshold of renewal. You are the God who restores, revives, and renews. The valley cannot define me. It refines me. In the stillness of this journey, I begin to see how divine presence weaves through even the quietest corners of life. When my heart feels dry and hope appears faint, your spirit becomes the dew that restores hidden strength. The valley once feared now reveals traces of grace I had overlooked. The kindness of a stranger, the warmth of an unexpected word, the peace that settles without reason. These are not coincidences. They are gentle reminders that I am held within eternal hands. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Psalm 139:5. Every shadow has taught me something sacred. The moments of weakness became classrooms of wisdom. The tears that once seemed wasted have softened pride and widened compassion. Through hardship, I have learned to listen differently, to recognize that silence can be a language where heaven speaks softly. What once felt like abandonment now appears as an invitation to deeper intimacy. The shepherd never left. He simply changed the rhythm of his voice. Beloved guide, teach me to value the unseen. Help me notice the quiet miracles that unfold without fanfare, the patience that grows after loss, the humility that follows disappointment, the courage that rises after defeat. These invisible transformations are the true victories of faith. They remind me that divine purpose rarely shouts. It unfolds slowly, like dawn spreading across a valley still wrapped in mist. The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. Proverbs 4:18. How beautiful it is to realize that grace does not erase pain, it redeems it. Every wound becomes a doorway for light to enter. Every valley a reminder that endurance is not emptiness, but preparation. You do not demand perfection, you desire closeness. And closeness is forged not only in joy, but in trial. I no longer see hardship as punishment, but as an echo of your commitment to shape something eternal within me. Now, when uncertainty tries to whisper fear, I answer with gratitude. Gratitude that I am not alone. Gratitude that love remains when everything else fades. Gratitude that the same voice that called stars into being still calls my name. In that truth, I find rest. There comes a point in every soul's journey when words fail, and only stillness remains. The heart grows weary of explanations, yet within that quiet fatigue, something sacred begins to unfold. The valley is not meant to destroy. It refines, reshaping everything that once clung to control. Divine wisdom hides in ordinary moments. The sound of rain after a dry spell, a breath taken deeply after tears, the calm that follows when striving ceases. These small mercies are not accidental. They are divine signatures written across days that once seemed empty. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. Psalm 91:4. In this stillness, I sense how unseen love guards each step. There were nights when fear whispered that no one cared, yet even then unseen hands kept me from falling apart. The valley, for all its darkness, becomes a classroom of revelation. Through difficulty, the soul discovers strength that cannot be taught through comfort. You, eternal presence, do not always change the landscape, but you change the traveler. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. These words take root in silence and bloom into courage that defies despair. What once felt like punishment now feels like purification. Suffering burns away illusions of control until only trust remains. Faith becomes less about receiving answers and more about resting in the mystery. The more I release my grip, the more I see beauty rise from ashes I thought were final. The shepherd's footsteps are quiet, but they lead surely toward restoration. Valleys may stretch long, yet mercy always meets me before despair can claim victory. When the heart aches for light, remembrance becomes prayer. I recall the times when grace arrived before I even knew I needed it, when comfort appeared through a melody, when strength returned through the kindness of a friend, when peace emerged unannounced, steady as dawn. Each moment testified that love had never left. The Lord will guide you continually, giving you water when you are dry and restoring your strength. Isaiah 58:11. So I choose to breathe again, slowly and intentionally. I let gratitude wash over the remnants of anxiety. The path may still be narrow, but hope widens the view. I begin to see that valleys are not endings. They are sacred corridors leading toward promise. And though I may not yet stand upon the mountaintop, I walk with assurance that the same presence who carried me this far will never release his hold. Have you ever realized later that a painful season had quietly prepared you for something greater? Reflect on that turning point. Your story might be someone else's lifeline today. There is a beauty that only sorrow can reveal, a depth that joy alone cannot teach. The valleys, though painful, uncover layers of the soul that comfort never reaches. They strip away illusions of self-sufficiency until all that remains is honesty before the divine. In that sacred bareness, the heart learns what it means to truly depend on grace. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise. Psalm 51:17. These words remind me that weakness is not failure. It is the doorway to transformation. Each trial leaves a mark, but those marks become holy when touched by compassion. Through difficulty, empathy awakens. I begin to see others differently, not as strangers in their struggles, but as fellow travelers walking through their own shadows. My pain becomes a bridge, not a barrier. The same comfort I receive is meant to flow outward, touching other wounded hearts. He comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. 2 Corinthians 1:4. The valley, then, is not only a path of endurance but also of calling. It teaches love that heals beyond words. In the quiet, I reflect on how often I prayed for strength while avoiding the very places where strength is formed. Now I understand that growth rarely happens in sunlight alone. The roots of faith stretch deepest underground, hidden beneath layers of uncertainty and waiting. You, Eternal Shepherd, lead through those unseen depths to anchor the heart where storms cannot uproot it. Every delay has meaning, every detour a divine purpose. The hand that leads me does not tremble. It moves with infinite patience. I no longer see the valley as isolation, but as invitation, a space where heaven leans close. Divine whispers echo softly through the fog. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. Isaiah 43:2. That promise wraps around the weary soul like warmth on a cold morning. It doesn't promise the absence of struggle, but it assures unbroken companionship through it. Gratitude now replaces resentment. Every ache, every unanswered question, every lonely night has carried hidden mercy. What once felt like breaking was actually remaking. And though I may not understand every reason, I no longer need to. It is enough to know that love never abandoned me, not once. The same hands that guided yesterday will sustain tomorrow. The longer I walk through this sacred valley, the more I understand that transformation rarely arrives in sudden flashes. It comes quietly, like dawn creeping through the edges of night. Change does not always announce itself with thunder. Often it whispers through small acts of surrender. The strength to forgive when bitterness feels justified. The courage to wait when everything urges haste. The faith to keep walking when the landscape looks unchanged. In those hidden choices, eternity begins shaping the soul. Let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking in nothing. James 1:4. The valley no longer feels like exile, it feels like encounter. Here, every breath becomes prayer, every silence turns sacred. Divine love does not remove the shadows, it walks within them. There are no wasted moments when the heart remains open. I start to see beauty not in perfection, but in persistence. The quiet resilience that keeps believing even when tears blur vision. Those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy. Psalm 126:5. The promise is not about escaping pain, but transforming it into melody. Sometimes I think of how many times I've resisted stillness, fearing that inactivity meant defeat. Yet in hindsight, stillness was where revelation waited. It was never about doing more, but about becoming aware. Aware of the subtle ways grace moves, of the constancy of divine companionship that never abandons, even in silence. The shepherd does not shout over storms. He walks through them beside the trembling heart. Each trial becomes a mosaic piece in a larger portrait I cannot yet see. The pattern seems unclear from close up, but from heaven's view, it reveals harmony. Every disappointment, every delay, every detour adds color to a greater design. We live by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. That truth steadies me more than any explanation could. It assures me that unseen goodness is still unfolding, even when emotions suggest otherwise. As peace returns in gentle waves, I realize that valleys are not merely places to survive, they are spaces where the deepest intimacy with God is born. It is here that dependence replaces pride, gratitude displaces fear, and love matures into unshakable trust. The same presence that guided prophets and kings through deserts now dwells quietly within every believer willing to follow. Hope rises again, not as loud triumph, but as calm certainty. I may not know what awaits beyond this valley, but I know who awaits me there, and that assurance is enough. Every valley changes us, yet not all transformations are visible. Some happen within, in the secret space where human effort ends and divine strength begins. When I glance back at the path already traveled, I see how gently grace has worked, softening my reactions, widening compassion, teaching my soul to breathe again. There were moments I thought faith had withered, but it was merely being pruned for deeper fruit. Every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. John 15:2. The cutting was never meant to destroy, it was preparation for greater life. In this quiet awareness, I begin to see how peace and pain can coexist. They do not cancel each other, they shape each other. The heart that has walked through grief learns tenderness in a way untouched hearts cannot know. The mind that has faced confusion learns to rest not in answers, but in trust. The soul that has been broken discovers that wholeness was never about perfection. It was about presence. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you. Isaiah 26:3. I used to measure blessings by outcomes. Doors opened, prayers answered, dreams fulfilled. But now, I see blessing in endurance itself. To keep believing when sight fails is a miracle greater than any visible reward. Hope, after all, is not naive optimism. It is the courage to see light before the dawn appears. This valley has not taken my joy. It has refined it, anchoring it in something eternal. Divine wisdom has a way of writing purpose into pages that once seemed meaningless. The very memories that once brought sorrow now carry wisdom. The same places where I once wept have become altars of gratitude. Each scar is no longer a mark of defeat, but a signature of grace. He makes everything beautiful in its time. Ecclesiastes 3:11. Even waiting seasons have rhythm, and even silence sings when the soul learns to listen. There are still days when the shadows return, when memories whisper doubts. But I am not the same traveler who entered this valley. My steps have slowed into peace. My vision has sharpened toward hope. I walk lighter because I have learned that I am never walking alone. What began as fear has turned into fellowship. The shepherd of my soul was never distant. He was simply waiting for me to notice his presence. Now, with a heart steady in gratitude, I lift my gaze. The horizon glows faintly ahead, evidence that dawn always follows darkness. The journey continues, but fear no longer defines it. Love does. What once felt like loss, but later revealed hidden beauty in your life. Your memory might help someone else recognize the dawn rising over their own valley. The more I journey through these lowlands of life, the clearer it becomes that valleys are not signs of abandonment, but invitations to encounter the heart of the eternal. Here, stripped of illusions and noise, I finally begin to hear what joy once drowned out. The quiet assurance that everything, even what breaks, belongs to redemption. Nothing is wasted when surrendered into divine hands. The Lord will perfect that which concerns me. Your mercy, O Lord, endures forever. Psalm 138:8. Each day becomes a brushstroke in a masterpiece I cannot yet see, but I trust the artist. It is here, between surrender and perseverance, that a new kind of faith is born, one that does not depend on outcomes, but on awareness. I no longer seek to rush through the valley. I seek to recognize the holiness within it. The shadows that once frightened me now become evidence of the light behind them. The uncertainty that once paralyzed now pushes me toward surrender. The silence that once hurt now hums with hidden purpose. The Lord your God is in your midst, a mighty one who saves. He will quiet you by his love. Zephaniah 3:17. I have discovered that transformation rarely announces itself with celebration. It arrives disguised as endurance. It teaches through discomfort, heals through reflection, and strengthens through persistence. Every hardship whispers a deeper truth, that the shepherd walks not only ahead of me, but also within me, guiding even the smallest decision toward peace. The path might wind through unfamiliar terrain, but divine presence is never lost. In this realization, gratitude no longer feels forced. It flows naturally. Gratitude for lessons learned through storms, for humility that grew through weakness, for compassion born out of pain. These gifts could never have been gained in ease. For you, O God, tested us. You refined us like silver. Psalm 66:10. Refining is never comfortable, yet it purifies the soul, revealing gold where fear once reigned. Each morning, I rise a little stronger, not because the valley has changed, but because I have. My eyes have learned to seek beauty in unexpected places. My heart no longer fears stillness, it rests in it. The once heavy silence has become the space where divine peace breathes freely. I understand now that faith is not measured by the absence of hardship, but by the ability to keep walking through it with an anchored heart. And as light filters again through distant hills, I realize that what began as survival has turned into transformation. I am not leaving the valley the same way I entered. It has carved in me the quiet strength of trust, the serenity of surrender, and the wisdom of waiting. Every valley carries its own kind of silence, And within that silence, truth begins to rise. It is not the loud, triumphant kind that comes from victory, but the soft, steady truth born of endurance, the understanding that divine love has never once withdrawn its hand. What seemed like loneliness was often protection, and what appeared as delay was preparation for a deeper purpose. The Lord will go before you, and the God of Israel will be your rear guard. Isaiah 52:12. Even when I thought I was standing still, grace was moving all around me, shaping unseen outcomes and aligning my path with mercy. I have learned that strength is not built in moments of ease, but in hours of persistence. The days that felt unbearable were the very soil where resilience grew. The valley does not strip value. It reveals it. It teaches that the soul is capable of standing when logic says it should fall. It shows that hope can breathe even in dry places. The shepherd never promised avoidance of hardship. He promised companionship through it. That is the difference between fear and faith. One runs from the valley, the other walks through it, trusting in unseen guidance. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. Psalm 56:3. Now I see that faith is not simply believing that everything will work out. It is trusting that even what breaks can still bless. The pain I resisted became the chisel that refined my perspective. The tears I once hid became the rain that nourished new beginnings. Divine hands can shape beauty out of fragments. What once seemed like ruins now stand as monuments of endurance. The more I reflect, the more I recognize that peace does not come from the absence of storms, but from the awareness of divine constancy within them. The valley remains part of the journey, but its shadows no longer intimidate me. The shepherd's voice has become familiar enough to silence fear before it speaks, and in this calm confidence I find rest. He will keep you in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on him because he trusts in you. Isaiah 26:3. I used to pray only for escape, but now I pray for alignment, for my will to rest inside his. I pray not to be spared from valleys, but to walk through them with wisdom. Each step becomes sacred when taken with awareness of divine presence. The same light that leads out of the darkness also teaches reverence within it. And though I may still face uncertainty, I do so differently now. I no longer ask, when will this end? But, what is this teaching me? For I have seen that valleys end not only when the road ascends, but when the heart awakens. And mine, at last, has learned to see blessing in the very places it once feared. There is a quiet strength that comes only after long seasons of surrender, a confidence not rooted in self but anchored in the unshakable faithfulness of the divine. As the path winds onward, I no longer count the distance left to climb. Instead, I notice the grace that carried me this far. The air feels lighter now, not because the valley has vanished, but because my heart has learned to breathe differently within it. Even to your old age and gray hairs, I am He. I am He who will sustain you. I have made you, and I will carry you. I will sustain you, and I will rescue you. Isaiah 46:4. Those words remind me that divine care does not fade. It deepens with every passing step. The journey has taught me that faith is not a single act of trust, but a rhythm of returning. Returning to hope after doubt, to peace after fear, to gratitude after tears. Each time I wandered in confusion, compassion waited with open arms. What once felt like distance was often my own distraction, and still mercy reached through the noise. The shepherd never scolds the lost. He restores the weary with gentleness. He tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arms and carries them close to his heart. Isaiah 40:11. I no longer chase certainty. I seek connection. I do not crave explanations. I crave presence. Divine wisdom rarely speaks through lightning. It comes through the slow unveiling of quiet assurance. I see now that trust is not a moment of emotion, but a posture of the soul. It is the steady gaze that looks beyond circumstances and recognizes grace woven through everything, even the broken pieces. The valley's lessons are not forgotten once light returns. They remain as sacred reminders, proof that darkness never had the final say. I have discovered that courage is not loud or dramatic. It is the quiet choice to rise again, to believe again, to love again, even when risk still lingers. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind. So, Timothy 1:7. Every scar carries testimony. Every wound that healed whispers of divine patience. The path once covered in uncertainty now glows faintly with understanding. It is not the same landscape. It is the same me, finally seeing it differently. The valley was never punishment. It was pilgrimage, and in walking through it, I have found not only strength, but serenity. Now, when I lift my eyes toward the horizon, I see more than light. I see promise. I see how even shadows served a purpose. The heart that once trembled now beats with peace that no circumstance can shake. The shepherd remains, as faithful as ever, guiding not only towards still waters, but through the lessons that lead there. The valley that once felt endless now lies behind me, not erased but redeemed. Looking back, I no longer see only the shadows. I see the light that kept guiding me through them. What once seemed like loss has become a landscape of lessons, proof that divine faithfulness never falters, even in the deepest silence. Every moment of fear became a seed of wisdom. Every unanswered question became an invitation to trust. And now, standing at the edge of the valley, I finally understand what it means to walk through and not merely in it. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Psalm 23:6. This journey has rewritten the meaning of peace. It is no longer something I search for outside myself. It is the calm that lives within, born of knowing I was never abandoned. Divine presence was not waiting on the other side. It walked beside me with every hesitant step. Even the seasons of grief carried grace, teaching me to listen more tenderly, love more freely, and believe more deeply. The God of mountaintops proved to be even closer in the valley. Now I see that valleys are not detours from destiny. They are the very roads that prepare the heart for promise. The low places build character that comfort cannot. They strip away illusion until only truth remains. That I am sustained not by circumstances, but by mercy renewed each morning. Because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Lamentations 3:22-23. I no longer fear tomorrow, for I have walked with the one who commands dawn after every night. My scars have become testimonies, not of what was lost, but of what was gained. Wisdom, humility, compassion, and peace. The path forward may hold new valleys, but I carry with me the assurance that no shadow can separate me from the light that dwells within. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. So I lift my eyes, not to escape the valley, but to honor it, for it was there that I learned what trust truly means. I now understand that joy is not the absence of struggle, but the certainty of divine companionship through it. Every valley ends, but love remains constant, and that love is enough to carry me wherever the road leads next. May every heart walking through its own valley today find courage in this truth. You are not forgotten, not forsaken, not alone. The same presence that guided me is with you too, steady, patient, unchanging. Keep walking. The dawn is nearer than you think. Which truth from this prayer speaks to you most deeply today? Write it below and let it become your declaration of peace for the path ahead.